Greetings and welcome everybody to another Tech Tip Tuesday. Here we are. What are we? The 25th already of the month. Wow, it's flying by. So my name is Ken Close. I am a Healy World member here in the United States, and I am joined by my awesome co-host, Jake Barron from Head of Operations for Americas. Hey, Jake.
Hey, Ken. Hello, everybody.
Greetings. And we have in the tech support Henry tonight, with the golden fingers at the keyboard there, everybody. So say hello to Henry. He's in our back, in our chat there from tech support. So let me tell you guys, well, first of all, welcome to Tech Tip Tuesday. If you haven't been here before, well, I'm glad you're here now. And if you have been here before, you kind of know what's going on, but let me tell you what we do. This is a chat-based forum where you guys put your questions in the chat, and then myself, Jake, Henry, even sometimes some of the participants help us out with answering the questions, but we will solve the mysteries around healing. What we talk about here, what we can talk about is we talk about the technology, the apps, the function, the theory, the concepts, the application, that kind of thing. What we can't talk about is anything around healing, diagnosing, preventing, or treating any kind of disease or disorder. So we really can't advise you on what programs to use. We have great tools within the Healy system for that. So I'm ready to get started. Jake, how about you?
Let's go.
Okay, so let's open up the chat. You guys go ahead and add your stuff in there. I see, let's see, already we got a question in there asking about what's the best way to charge an object like patches? Can it be done with the coil? So here's the cool thing about the coil. The coil it's an add-on that Healy put out a little while ago, but of course after the Healy. And its design is to take the microcurrent output. So in other words, your Healy device, your hardware, has a couple of wires that plug into it. This is how you transmit the microcurrent from Healy through the body. You can disconnect there and you can add a coil. So this is what the coil looks like, right? It's a little guy like this, a couple of pins here in the back that plug into your Healy. And that converts the microcurrent, the current flow that comes out of the Healy, into magnetic energy by flowing it through this coil. Inside there, you can kind of see in the camera there, the reflection, there is a circular shape. That's actually two coils. They're sitting there at 180 degrees off of each other. And when that current flow, electron flow, goes through a coil of wire, it emits a magnetic signal. Okay, so with that theory in mind now, you could have that coil with your Healy sitting on I don't know, near a glass of water, next to your favorite hiking shoes, or even in next to some other object like a crystal or a patch, as mentioned there in the question. And the magnetic frequencies will be emitting out of that coil into the proximity of the Healy. It's got about a 3-foot range. So whatever's the closest to the proximity of the Healy is essentially the Healy itself, and the coil is the epicenter of the transmission. It is the origin. So whatever is close to it is going to get that energy. Everything that's close to it. So again, when we wear the Healy with the coil, it's on our body, so our body's getting it, as well as about a 3-foot spherical space. That's the maximum effective range. Doesn't mean the only range. It's the max effective range. So it goes on omnidirectionally for infinity as far as the signal is concerned. But yes, that's how you can charge things up with the coil. Okay, including your own body.
Yeah, I mean that's a good point. And Ken, you the engineer, it's always when we mention that sort of range, whether it's with the MagHealy or with the coil, it's not that at 3 feet or at 9 feet or whatever, 10 feet with the MagHealy, it just stops. And if you're on the outside, there's nothing. Same thing though, it's not proportional. It's not, if you're at 3 feet away versus 1 inch away, it's not like if you go at 1 foot, it doesn't drop a third, and then 2 feet, 2/3. It's exponentially more powerful the closer you are to it. So it's not equally I don't know, but you could probably explain this better than me, but it doesn't drop off equally as you go.
Yeah, it's non-linear, in other words. So yeah, at the epicenter, at the Healy itself, is the strongest point of the magnetic force or energy, but then it drops off the further away. And the medium in which that magnetic signal is transmitting through is going to also negate the signal. So if you're underwater, it's going to be a little bit different in terms of how it buffers or shields the coil's transmission, or if you're behind a copper wall or a lead, inside of a lead box, all these things negate the signal. So in a perfect vacuum, magnetic energy tends to be a little bit further and have a better range, but that's not what we live in. So anyway, so that's a great point. Thanks, Jake, for that. Let's see. So Henry's saying, welcome to Tech Tip Tuesday. Everybody go in there and say hi to Henry. All right, here's a question. Will Healy work in a pocket or purse? I love this question. In fact, one of our pages, the defense page, shows that you just simply wear the Healy on your body, like for instance, clipped onto your shirt pocket, maybe on your waistband, whatever. And then the energy being emitted from Healy itself, and this is without a coil, the energy being emitted out of Healy itself will propagate into the body or the entity in which it's close to, whether it's a human body or a pet or a plant or, whatever the environment it's next to. So yes, and this is true of, if you look at the programs, the programs have a small little, the old Pink Dot app had a little icon of connectivity, 3 little dots. Now we have one that says IMF, individualized magnetic frequencies or in energy right there. So it's that those little letters say that it's transmitting information, right? So the Healy hardware in itself does send out frequencies. So to your question there, will it work in a pocket or purse? Sure. Now, not all the programs are that way. Some are just what's called direct current, just one frequency, or actually I should say just electron flow with no variations, no waveform. A frequency essentially is a waveform. It is some form of energy that oscillates from a reference point to a maximum, back through reference point to a minimum, basically oscillates up and down like this. So this is a frequency, and a frequency is measured in a length of time. In other words, a per second oscillation interval. And so that's how you see the frequencies on the screen of your app. Say 1 hertz, that's 1 wavelength per second. So 1 cycle of the wave, whatever it's, whatever the waveform is, which in Healy, it's kind of a square wave. So it's kind of ramps up, across, down, across, up, across. So like a square wave. If you could take a wave and make it square, right? Square top, square bottom. That's what it looks like. But the frequency is measured in time. A wavelength is how many times per second. So if Healy transmits between a range of 0.1 hertz up to 1 million hertz, meaning 1 million oscillations per second. That's a pretty fast frequency. All right. All right.
Okay, so Ken, you actually mentioned this next one a little bit in there. It's a question from Julie. I noticed the IMF labels in the top right corner of the new Healy 2 app programs or Pink Dot app programs have disappeared. What's going on there? Henry, thank you, ready for answering this in the chat. And actually, Henry and I were talking about this in the office a couple of days ago because there was an update to the Healy 2 app and was looking through it like, where did it go? So that was not, it was part of an update, but it wasn't supposed to be removed. So it's going to be added back soon in there. But in the meantime, if you actually click on the program itself, it says in the text there, so not an icon on the main program page, but if you click on a single program, it'll tell you there in the text if that program can be used with a coil as well. But it'll be back soon. Don't know exactly when, but it's going to be in both spots. So essentially on that program description page, and then also the icon on the program section too.
Yeah, I've had a couple people call me, hey, what's going on? I was like, sorry. I actually have, I have a screenshot of every program on every page. And I have this little inventory of all that so that I can, like, when changes are made, I like to see, the names, the changes. I just like to keep track of that only because I get questions all the time. So, so I share the page with somebody that they're showing me that this thing has disappeared. The little IMF has disappeared. I show them the page of what it's supposed to look like. It'll come back.
Yeah.
Oops. All right. Let's see. Laura says, this is a bit off topic, but was the password for our What's Up Wednesday? I don't see it in or notice it. So there's it's now a webinar essentially through the Zoom platform. But if you notice on the little notification on Telegram, there's just a link, or you can go to the URL.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. You can just go click on the link that's in those messages. There's a link also in the events page of the US Healy shop. And there's a QR code that goes along with these new webinars as well that you can just scan with your phone to join, but there is no password required. So
yeah. So you just click right straight through. All right. Let's see what else we got here. So Dory asks, can you charge while using the Blue Dot app? Yeah, actually, so that's actually the only way. I mean, when you've got your Healy plugged in, I don't know if you've noticed, you got your Healy plugged in and you try to open the microcurrent app, the app will open, but if you go to try to start a program, it'll tell you not able to, run a program while Healy's plugged in. But with the Advisor Analyze app, yes, you can. You can have it plugged in and do all the functions that app does. And here's the reason. Let's just look at it logically. Why would you, if you've got leads here, remember Healy, this cabinet and everything was designed as a class 2 medical device. That was what the design was for. And there are parameters when you're making a medical device, especially a rechargeable device. You've got to build in safety parameters for the host, right, or the person using the device. So you notice that if you have the wires connected to hook to your body, you can't connect the charge cable, because even though it's extremely difficult for this to happen, but you've got a charging device plugged into 120 volt in our country, 120 volt, 60 hertz resource, such as which is called your outlet, right, in your house, or maybe it's a battery, whatever. The point is there's energy that can go through there, and it's a very long shot. But for that to be connected to your body and that energy go through your body, that would be not healthy. So they make it so that you can't do both at the same time when you're running the microcurrent, right? All right.
This is a good question. Another question here from Julie. I don't know if Henry is on top of things here, so I don't know if you already answered this, but yeah, actually he did answer. But the question is, what you get extra from having the watch, using the watch with the watch connector subscription versus without. So this question comes up quite a bit because people that don't have the watch might be running the resident scan in the Analyse app, and they get recommended the watch programs, and then well, I don't have the watch, what do I do here? So that you can vibrate those programs even if you don't have the watch. But if you move over to the Healy 2 app and want to use those programs, run them with microcurrent or with the coil, that kind of thing, they won't be listed there if you don't have the watch connector module. Then of course you don't have access to the watch app either without that subscription there. So, or additional features actually in the watch app. So
yeah, there's more programs there.
Yeah.
That are assigned just to the watch, because so the watch's purpose is to take various biorhythmic content of the body and move it into the Analyse app, and then using that content to interface with what programs would best suit the host, the person. So it gives more feedback. and then you can run those things and look at some of the feedback. There's just another level, which is pretty cool. I mean, it's like having your own like personal practitioner there on your wrist. It's also a smartwatch, by the way, so it shows you your texts and your emails. Sometimes you get too many vibrations going.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see, where are we at?
Question from Aki here says, with the Healy 2 app, notice that the device will go off when you walk away, but are the frequencies still being transmitted? So yeah, I mean, Ken, you talk about this a lot, right, on this call, the Bluetooth range of the Healy device itself, the Bluetooth low energy. And if you take, if your smartphone is on your desk or something like that, and you're wearing your Healy and you walk away outside of that range, the Bluetooth will disconnect, but that program will continue to run until it finishes. So you'll see on your Healy device, the blue light will stop flashing, but the green one will continue to flash until that program completes. And then if you wanted to, you can go back and reconnect to the app, and then it would bring you back to where you were, or show you where you are in the progress for that particular program. But it's not a issue or a error with the app. That's what, you know, it's designed to do if you walk away outside of that range.
Yeah, so this is like Jake said, this is Bluetooth low energy, or BLE, and Bluetooth low energy only has a 32-foot range. Okay, so that's not very far, right? And that's line of sight. So if you're in one room versus another, so it's going through a wall now, that's even less distance. So 32 feet, it's not that far. And so, you know, you have your smartphone sitting on the dining room table and you wander into the back bedroom somewhere. And as Jake said, you'll see the Bluetooth light shuts off, but the green light, the flashing green light, means that the program is still functioning. In other words, it also too means that green light flashing means that Healy is transmitting content. So in other words, when you get back to your smart device and you reconnect, Healy is sending content back to the app through the Bluetooth portal, and the app then brings you right back up to speed where Healy is currently. So now I want you guys to also understand, if you wander away from your smart device and the blue light goes off, okay, the green light's still flashing and you still get busy doing stuff or whatever, and then the green light goes off, that means that the program has completed. So in other words, if it was a 40-minute program or whatever, and it's gone through its cycle, it'll go off, and then there'll be no lights on your Healy. You know, you have to go back, you have to turn the power back on and reconnect to the smart device if you want to engage a new program. Okay, it's also a power feature, a power saver feature, so it's not using your battery. If you remain within range of your smart device and the program is over, right? So 40-minute program, whatever, it's over, and you still have the blue light going on, the green light will shut off and the blue light will still flash. That's because it's still connected to the app, and it'll flash for as long as you're still connected. Keep flashing until maybe your battery goes dead or you shut it off, but it's connected so you can load a new program. If you hard close the app, then the blue light goes off. Okay. All right. So here's a question that says, can you please advise if blue app suggests deep cycle, but the pink app doesn't have this program, what program to run? I believe it was told that it will be combined. So assuming like if you don't have the deep cycle, so if your advisor comes up with suggestions as to a certain program group, or and if you've taken that program group and you've analyzed just that group, and now it's showing you a series of programs on that group, if it's showing you a group and you don't have the group, then that's okay. I mean, you may not have it with your edition, whatever edition you have. You can still run the vibration mode in the blue app, okay? and the Healy is going to transmit those frequencies into the field, into your field, through the same modality, which is the noise generator built into the system, into the Healy. It's the same modality as if you were running the pink app and you were connected to the microcurrent, because simultaneously, as you're running microcurrent into your body, the noise generator, which is tucked inside, is sending those frequencies out into the field. So you're getting a twofer. Now, not all the programs do that, but the ones who have that little IMF icon do. And those are the ones compatible with the coil. So they're going to transmit information in the blue app, as well as when you're in the pink app, it's going to transmit information via the vibrate mode. So even if you don't have the program group, go ahead and run vibrate mode from the analysis, and you'll get the frequencies into your field. I get a lot of questions about that too. If we get caught up here, I want to talk about your field.
Yeah, so there was actually a couple questions sort of similar to this topic a little bit further down. I think we mentioned it maybe last week, about how the names don't always match up exactly between the Analyse app and the Healy 2 app, because they're completely separate apps, and a lot of times we might change something to make it consistent globally, maybe in the Healy 2 app, but it's not possible at the same time to make all those changes in the Analyse app. So at some point in the future, of course, the plan is for those to match, but it's not always going to sync up 100% of the time. So, but if something was renamed in the Healy 2 app, but you're used to seeing it in the Analyse app different, just know that you can continue to run that other program with that slightly different name in the Healy 2 app.
Yeah, we can kind of look at the program group in the Healy 2 app, and then look at the program group on the Analyse app, and you can kind of correspond which one's which. It would make sense. They're not that big a difference. Well, mostly they're not. Here's a quick question too about the coil. Will it work in your purse with the coil? Yeah. Well, if you leave your purse in the car and you're in the house, it's going to be a bit, but you got your purse or your satchel or whatever on your shoulder, and you've got the Healy inside the purse. Same thing, as long as your purse is not metallic. Now remember, metal material takes that magnetic wave, converts it into electron flow, and then has to emit it again. So it's kind of a way of dimming down the signal. So metal components tend to negate the signal a little bit. But yeah, I mean, it can work in your purse. I like having it clipped onto me, because people ask me all the time, what's that? I'm like, I like talking about it. All right. Let's see. In the new Academy, it doesn't recognize that I've been through the whole old Academy with the certifications to prove it. How different are the new ones? So yeah, the new Academy, it's got a whole new platform. So you have to actually go through those to get the certificate versus the old one.
Yeah, I don't believe there's any plans for that to carry over from the old into the new. Just, I guess, right now, a lot of the videos that were in the old Academy are similar in the new one, but if you haven't watched them yet, there's a whole newer series of videos on the Healy 2 app. There's some newer MagHealy videos. When the new Analyse 2 app comes out here in the next couple of weeks, that will have a whole new series of videos as well. And I guess just look at it as a recertification opportunity. So,
All right. Let's see. So here's one. Let's see. Hi, Ken. I have a doubt about the most efficient way to use IMF. Does the coil equal in efficiency to the wristbands, or is the same intensity? Because using the wristbands, some users can feel more intensity of the microcurrent, or is the same benefit using the coil? So I love this question because it's not the same, right? It's not the same modality. IMF, individualized microcurrent frequency. That's what it stands for. So microcurrent is not the same as magnetic flow, as magnetic emission. It's not the same. Microcurrent is electron flow. Okay, it's electron flow. It is literally like current through an extension cord or a power cord between your charger and your smart device. You're charging, you're moving energy from a source to a load. All right. So the same thing here. What we're doing with Healy, Healy is putting out, you've got two leads here, a positive and a negative. It says so right on the face here. And it's sending electron flow. So it's sending like one electron down one wire, which connects to my body. It goes through my body over into the other wire and then back into the Healy circuitry. So if we just trace one electron for a second, and by the way, there are hundreds of trillions, zillions of them. If we just trace one electron, this is essentially in the molecular structure of everything. Everything's made of atoms, right? And what's an atom but a center and orbiting electrons? Electrons are the smallest, tiniest ways of transmitting information. And so when we're running electron flow through the body, it's what's piggybacked on the electron is the frequency that Healy has added to it. So Healy has picked frequencies based on the program you've chosen to help energize your body, to help align your body, whatever the purpose of the program is. If it's bioenergetic defense, if it's coherence, if it's skin, if it's muscle, whatever the program's designed to do, it's looking at taking the purpose of the program, converting all of those, not really converting, but taking all of those frequencies that are in that program to assist you, and then putting them on piggybacking them on microcurrent or electron flow, and then sending them through your body. And those frequencies then speak to the organs, tissues, cells of your body. Not all of them, but the specific ones that the frequencies resonate with, right? So if it's muscle program, it's working with the muscle of your body. If it's skin, it's working with the skin of your body. Okay, so if it's coherence, it's working on the entire organism in terms of building coherence. So this is the electron flow then speaks from when it goes into the wristband, into your body, into the skin, it's going into the cells through their electrons, right? Every cell has bunches and bunches of molecules with it and their electrons in there. And so it speaks to all of those, and the information is transferred. Information is transferred from Healy's creation into your body's reception. Okay, so that's all the microcurrent. Now, when Healy takes that microcurrent, runs it through a coil and creates a magnetic emission, now it's taking that same information and it's converting it from electron flow to magnetic waves. And then those go out into the infinite space in which you occupy. You're there. And then that magnetic energy has to then hit your body, and your body is water and minerals. It's a walking, talking, standing antenna. And when magnetic waves hit an antenna or conductive surface, it then converts that back into electron flow. And the electron flow has what on it? The information from the frequencies. And then the body decodes that. So it's still going through the body, but none of what Healy does is invasive, but the microcurrent is probably the most invasive. It's not invasive, but it's the most invasive of how Healy works. In other words, it's sending direct electron flow through the body. The magnetic energy from the coil is subtle. It's subtle, even more so. And it has to then then contact the body, emit the electron flow. The body has to accept it, allow it, and then it goes through the tissues, systems, organs, and cells, similar to the microcurrent transmission. Personally, I use both, and I use them in a very specific way, because microcurrent has a ton of science to prove and show you that it increases ATP production, increases amino acid transport, increases protein synthesis within the cell. This is science from early 1900s. This is why Healy uses microcurrent, because it stimulates activity within the cells. Okay. So personally, I use that when I'm working on something very tangible. If I'm working on, something with a skin, an injury, a pain, a muscle, some of that. But then I also use the coil. I do both. Okay. A lot of information about that question, because I get that question a lot, and I want everybody to really understand the difference. There is a difference. There's a difference between those two. All right. Go ahead, Jake. You got one?
Yeah, so this question from Megan asking, how do you know if the Healy is damaged and needs to be replaced? She says when she runs a Pink Dot app program, Healy 2 app, sometimes it disconnects, and when she goes back, the program has gone back to the start. Is this a faulty device or some other issue? So, chances are it's not a faulty device. 99% of the time, this is some sort of connectivity issue, whether it's a Bluetooth connection issue or there's too much else going around. It could have just, the app, maybe somehow, Ken mentioned this before, gotten corrupted, something wrong with your smart device. If you're having this issue often, you could try doing a hard reset first. And then also try to delete and reinstall, turn off your smartphone, start it back up, reinstall the app as well, and see if that helps this issue, if it reduces that. And then, if you're still having issues after, doing hard reset and trying those types of things, you can obviously submit a support ticket, and our tech support team can be certainly happy to help you walk you through some of these troubleshooting steps.
Yeah, and yeah, like Jake said, it's rarely is it the hardware.
Yeah, and make sure you're using the new Healy 2 app, the one above Ken's shoulder there on the video, and not the Healy Pink Dot app, the older version. So
yeah, the new one, and there's a clear purpose for this, because Healy's put all their apps on the new software programming platform, and they operate much more efficiently. As hardware, as these smart devices become more and more sophisticated, even the smartphone designers, right? Apple and Android, they have to create new software, right? New operating systems, because the hardware and the operating system evolved together. Well, app developers, by the way, have to do the same thing. They have to evolve with the hardware developers. They're kind of at the service, at the mercy of the modality in which they function on. Healy functions on a smartphone, on a smart device. And if a smart device technology evolves, then the apps must also. And so they have been doing that. All right. Let's see. June's asking, I'm wondering if I can use the Blue Dot and MagHealy when I'm on the airplane. So you can use the Blue Dot. MagHealy transmits. So the FAA hasn't caught up with us yet. They may. Airplanes don't like radio transmission signals. They allow Bluetooth. They don't like other transmission signals. The MagHealy may start to catch attention by the FAA. We'll see. It hasn't yet, but we'll see. The Healy itself, though, you can run that, and you can run the Blue app, and nobody's the wiser, because the Bluetooth signal is allowed on airplanes, and that's the only thing it needs to function. As an engineer, I have my opinion as to what the Aviation Association is going to say eventually, but right now, I wouldn't be too obvious about it.
Yeah, and you can always, reference the instructions for use that are available for the MagHealy itself too. They can access those either through back office or through the Healy 2 app itself when you're running the MagHealy. For any contraindications, warnings, that kind of thing, that's always a great place to go. So
Yeah. Okay. Let's see.
a good question here, Ken. This is I think it was addressed recently in that training we did, the top 10 things people need to know. And also when we're talking about the Analyse app is, do you have to take a new photo every time you use the Analyse app? The question was asked again later in this chat here. Do you have to take a new photo every day that you're using the Analyse app? So yeah, you've talked about this a lot, Ken. That's not something that's meant to be re-recorded every single day. Same with, you don't need to do record your vibration again every single day too.
Right. I mean, like for instance, anything you do, because we're working with energy, but we're assigning that energy to a matter, a body, right? And so if your body changes, like when you take a picture, this essentially the picture just kind of represents the representation of you. I mean, if you've changed the color of your hair or you cut it all off or you've made some major changes, then sure, go ahead, make a new picture, but it's designed, it's still you. And, you're not going to use your baby picture. You're going to use something that represents what the world sees you as today. And the world doesn't see you as a whole different you in one day, right? Unless, I mean, again, you've made some big shift or change within your hair. Now, I do want to address this though. There are events in our lives that are unfortunate. And if someone is in an accident and injured, right, and it shifts and changes your form and the way that you're seen in the world, then I do recommend that you put that new picture in there, right? Because healing needs to address you in current form. It needs to address you in current form. And the content you put in there as the client, you, is a GPS or a universal positioning sensor of you, the entire universe. It wants to make sure that it's got the only you in the universe. And so that's why your picture's in there. That's why your name, your gender, where you were born, when you were born, so that it's the only you in the universe that it's going to be related to or correlating to. Okay, so you don't need to do it every day. You don't even need to do a scan every day, because it does take time. Whenever you change your diet or start an exercise plan, I mean, do you change your diet every day? You got to give it time. Same thing with the exercise plan. You got to give it time. Your body is a sense of form and matter in space and time, and it takes a bit to change it. Okay. Let's see. So I don't know if this one was addressed here. I'm a bit behind, but it seems there's a question. It seems that the blue app and pink app are not correlated, or maybe not updated at the same time. I had suggestion for food sensitivity in bioenergetic harmony 2, but in pink app, the closest there is food imbalances. Is it the same? Yeah, you're right. So no, they do not update exactly the same. They are two completely different program platforms, and they update differently, or one may update and the other not. So that's different. But yes, look at the most closest. So food imbalances versus the name food sensitivity. Yes, that's going to be the same. Okay.
So question about any clues to the mechanics, science, frequencies used behind the natural cycle module, and how does it actually work? So yeah, there's actually a training video. I'm going to put the link into the chat here. It's a 10-minute long video, natural cycle training, which the module was created by Nuno Nina. And it's if you're looking for just an overview of all the different processes and how it actually works, this is the great place to start. There's also a brochure that's available in the back office, and there's also some information in the Healy 2 app manual about the natural cycle programs. There's a little bit of an overview there within that guide too. So there's several different resources, and I would check all of them out actually. Let me just show this where this video is. This is a link to the Vimeo page here, and you'll see natural cycle training video. It's from last year, but this is still great content, and it kind of goes through all the different sections, the cycle, how to do this. It shows the whole chart, how you pick the programs. So again, I'll put that in there, but again, reference the information that's available in the Healy 2 app manual, the Healy 2 app guide in back office, which is also available within the information section of the Healy 2 app as well. You can just pull that up directly from there, but I'll put this link into the chat specifically for this training video.
There's some, there's some good stuff, and there's new good stuff. If you guys are like, I went and watched all those videos last year. Well, do it again. I promise you that you do it again, you're a new you today than you were a year ago. And so you'll probably gain some new stuff. Okay, so Dory's got another question here. Does it work to manually choose the time for natural cycle in the Healy 2 app? So you can't manually choose the time. When you run a Healy 2 or a microcurrent app program, it's got a preset time. So whatever the time is in the program itself is going to be the length of time. It's actually called the maximum duration of the program. So in other words, if it's a maximum duration of 52 minutes for whatever program it is, whether it's in the natural cycle or any other page, then if your body becomes resonant with all the frequencies chosen within that program earlier than 52 minutes, it could shut off earlier. Okay, but it won't go longer. Okay, but the natural cycle programs within the Pink app have a set duration, and they'll run for that long. Okay. Well, I should say they'll set for the maximum of that long. Okay. When running the wristbands, sometimes the frequencies are too short and I need to turn the intensities down. Can the plus and minus on the Healy do that if the device is turned off? No, the plus and minus on the device are only giving you reference for current flow from minus to plus, just current flow direction between the leads. Because Healy could, if there were certain microcurrent programs that needed to have a direction of flow through the body, Healy could tell you and advise you which lead to hook to which side, right? So then you would have a proper electron flow if the programs required that, but none of them do. So, no, the plus and minus are not actual buttons on the hardware. They don't do anything. But I want to address the other part of what you're saying there too, is that some of the frequencies too short. In other words, a frequency that is low in number, typically frequencies below about 400 hertz, they will require sometimes more power to get through the body because they're closer to density. When I mean density, matter, right? The higher the frequency, the closer to pure energy or waveform. The lower the frequency, the closer to density or stillness or matter, which is solid mass. Okay, so the things that are below 400 hertz may need a little more intensity. On the app, you got the plus and minus there to increase the intensity. This is how much current is flowing through your body. It doesn't increase. It doesn't increase the frequency intensity. It increases the microcurrent intensity that's carrying the frequency. Okay, so I want you guys to kind of try to get your head around that one. So the frequency itself, has a waveform that is a measurement of time. So let's say it's 400 hertz. All right. And then it's placed on a carrier wave called microcurrent. And the microcurrent you can adjust how much current's going through. In other words, kind of like how much amperage, like, right? You're turning up the amperage from 5 amps to 20 amps. It's not that much. It's microcurrent. It's in the millionths of an amp. It's very small, but still you can feel it. And so it's turning that up. And when it's turning that up, it's not turning up the frequencies. It's just increasing the carrier that's going through the body so that it gets in there better, right? So is it increasing more ATP? Yeah, it's increasing more energy in the cell. And what cells? The cells that the frequencies are targeting. So does that make sense? Hopefully.
Yep. Yeah, and there was a question a little bit below that, referring to that plus and the minus. They're not actually buttons on the front of the Healy device. There's only one button on the front of the Healy device. That's the power button. And then of course you have the two indicator lights, the Bluetooth light and then the power light or the program running light. As Ken already explained, the plus and minus is to indicate the polarity, but there's currently no programs that actually use that. So you'll notice that there's never a time where you need to worry about a left and a right when you're using that, at least not right now.
Yeah, it's just built in. That's the cool thing about
Yeah.
Healy. It's forward thinking. It's built in, and you'll see the apps. It will say that it's not relevant. Plus and minus is not relevant. If it were, it would tell you. Okay.
And back to the Bluetooth question. We were talking about this earlier. The Bluetooth low energy and the range there, the 32-foot range. The question was, are we referring to specifically the new Analyse app? So the Bluetooth range isn't determined by the Analyse app. It's the actual Bluetooth chip that's built into the Healy device itself. So this isn't related to whether it's a new app or the old app itself.
Yeah, Bluetooth is just the modality in which this Healy hardware, this little box, sends a transmission signal through the air to communicate with this piece of hardware. So just like a walkie-talkies, you guys understand walkie-talkies? You got a walkie-talkie in your hand, and when you're kids, or maybe you got one, and then you run down the road and you're talking to each other on walkie-talkies. So these two radio transmitters transmit voice through a radio wave, right? So the Bluetooth is the radio wave that carries the information from one entity to the other, from the Bluetooth hardware to the smart device hardware. That's all it does. It's just a slave system, or I should say, probably a wrong word, but in electronics, by the way, you guys, we call a device, one's a master device and the other one's a slave device. So one controls and one is the follower. So essentially that signal is just the control mechanism in which it sends information back and forth between the two pieces of hardware. It has nothing to do with the frequencies Healy transmits. It's a standalone transmitting system. Okay. All right, so here's a question. I don't know if it's already been addressed, but please advise, can MagHealy be used with someone who has metal implants in the body? Again, as Jake mentioned earlier, there's contraindicators, information available to read about that.
Yeah, and Henry put a bunch of information there in the chat as well. So thank you for that, Henry. Appreciate it.
Yay. Yep, thank you. Wonderful.
So question here, I guess it's asking for beginners or basics, but also a bit beyond. Sounds like Healy for beginners and beyond. But are there any courses, videos, books you could recommend that explain the basics and a bit beyond of how frequencies, magnetics, electromagnetic, quantum physics, earth-body harmonics, field geometrics, etc., work? So again, if you have not yet gone through the Healy Academy, that would be a great place to start. Go through all those videos, and kind of specifically on this topic, as far as how the quantum physics and the frequencies, that kind of thing work, there's an excellent video in the Academy within the Healy 2 app section. Let me share my screen again while we're this. So this is Healy Academy, and we're actually in the Healy, well, this is the regular Healy section. So you see products, you go to Healy, microcurrent application, but there's some great information down here. It says harmonization, tuning the bioenergetic field. This is actually the newest video within this section here, and it's excellent as far as explaining frequencies and how it's actually, it's like the title of the video, tuning the bioenergetic field. So this would be a great one to take a look at. And there's some really cool videos in the coach module section too, that kind of explain the quantum entanglement and you know, the psychological basics here, the observer effects in quantum physics, information field and quantum entanglement. So this sounds kind of like what you're probably looking for. So if you have not checked these out, I would definitely 100% recommend go to Academy and watch all these videos here if you're looking for more.
Yeah, to do a deep dive into some of these subjects, I mean, we did a little bit when we talked about quantum entanglement on that, but I mean, you know, we can't, in an hour, you can't touch on that. And those videos are very basic, but give you some fundamentals. It's about fundamentals. And then you just expand upon those fundamentals and ask more questions. Believe me, the moment the mind obtains a piece of information, it then upregulates everything within your awareness, and you'll ask new questions, right? Like I told you, when you watch a video from a year ago versus today, you're not the same you today that you were a year ago. There's a lot of cognitive information that has been readjusted. And the nervous system itself within these bodies is amazing, because the nervous system can be upregulated in a second. And how do I know that? Well, I'll ask you this. Have you ever gotten any bad news? The moment you got that bad news, you were plugging along at one trajectory and the bad news hit. What happened to your trajectory, right? Everything about your nervous system shifted, and you probably felt it. You ever felt that jolting sensation, right? In an emergency condition? That's the nervous system upregulating, shifting, changing, tuning in. And then the body takes a little while to catch up. So, I mean, this is the cool thing about neuroscience, is that this entire nervous system, brain, all of the nerves, the reticular activating system, the vagal system, the vagus nerve, all of that is all lightning energy, lots of energy going on. And that's it. You can't really read it. You can feel it, but it's sure sending a lot of information per second. I don't know, you guys may have heard me say it before, that the reticular activating system is a bundle of neurological systems between the brain and body, and to the tune of 400 billion bits of information per second is flowing through that RAS, or reticular activating system. And our awareness, you and I, we're sitting here talking and doing whatever we're doing, multitasking, hearing, speaking, feeling, tasting, sitting, whatever. All of that is only about 2,000 bits of information into your awareness. So, but the reticular activating system is aware of 400 billion. So that's a lot of information in the background going on, isn't it? You're not doing that, but it's still operating you, still running you. And Healy, here's the fun part. Healy interfaces with this nervous system. It interfaces, how did I say earlier? Through electron flow, right? When you're connected, all that nervous system is electron flow. So Healy is interfacing with that. And it's communicating information to it, so they can upregulate those systems, organs, and cells. This is the beauty how Healy works. It's not cutting edge, it's bleeding edge. It's ahead of its time. That's why we're having Tech Tip Tuesday every week, because we want to make sure you guys understand how to use it. All right. So when is the next Healy for beginners and beyond? There's or he's asking, I haven't seen it mentioned lately. Well, again, that's, whenever something new comes around, we need to update. Jake, any ideas?
Yeah, we've in general, we typically do that call once a month these days. We keep a lookout on our Telegram group, Team Healy USA group on Telegram, our Healy World Americas page on Facebook for announcements of when the next one might be, and also on our events page on the Healy shop itself. But if you're looking to go back to review other content, if you go to our HealyAmericas.com, which take you right to our Healy World Americas page on YouTube, which is where we put all the recordings of these calls. This is where you would go. So this is just go to HealyAmericas.com. Will take you directly to this, but also you can find it directly on YouTube from @Healy World Americas. Will take you there too. If you haven't subscribed already, definitely subscribe. And you'll see here, we got What's Up Wednesday from last week, or last week's Tech Tip Tuesday, the Healy for Beginners and Beyond that we did earlier this month. You'll see that we did a preview of the new Analyse 2 app that's coming out soon. But let's just say you wanted to review all prior Healy for Beginners and Beyonds. If you click on playlists, and then you'll see here everything's sort of organized neatly into the different playlists. So you go view, Healy for Beginners and Beyond, view full playlist. You'll see here we've got we started adding these, late 2021 or content from late 2021, and we have all these listed. So you see we have the one here from April this year, one from March, one from February. We don't know when yet. The next one will be in May. We've got lots going on with our homecoming event coming up soon, but we'll definitely post that in advance of when it will be available. But in the meantime, there's 15 Healy for Beginners and Beyonds here. So you're talking about 15 hours of content just in this playlist if you want to check those out. So
15 hours, folks.
Yeah.
Grab the popcorn, get a cozy chair.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it. And by the way, you guys, if you want to save the chat, if there's some links in there or some content in there, down there where you type in your chat text, there are 3 little dots next to the little smiley face icon. Click on those. It'll say save chat. At the end of our call, at the end of our Zoom, when we hang up here, a pop-up will come up on your screen, and it's only good for your PC or laptop, and then you'll be able to save it to your PC or laptop, but it won't work if you're on your mobile device. Sorry. But yeah, that's a good way to save it. If you are on a mobile device, you can actually copy and paste some of that stuff, but because I love it that there's links in there, you guys. There's a lot more content that Henry's putting in there for you in terms of answers. So maybe you want to save that stuff. It's good stuff. Are we caught up? I think we're caught up, Jake.
Let's see here.
I love what Laura says, by the way. I'm going to just share this because I love these TTs, these Tech Tip Tuesdays, right? I always learn something new and have takeaways. Thank you. Love the kudos. Oh my gosh, it's wind in my sails. Thank you.
Yeah. There was a question about when the new Analyse 2 app will be available for everyone. So we're currently in that beta testing right now. There was a recent update for those of you that were part of the testing. The question earlier on was, where's the MagHealy programs in the Analyse 2 app? And those were actually just recently added to the beta version that's being tested. So there's an additional MagHealy section in there now, but the exact release date isn't yet available. It's soon, and in early May, I would suspect you'll probably hear a lot more about the official rollout plans for the Analyse 2 app.
Okay, so quickly before we leave here, last one here, Dory's asking, I meant the start time in the natural cycle in Healy 2 app, not the duration. Okay, the start cycle. that reset, if you're trying to do anything with the start time, like for instance, you've started this circadian rhythm around this solstice cycle, and you want to change that or shift that. Right now that's pretty much a preset thing. If it was missed, or if you reset and you start over, something happened, it's kind of a preset. Now, suggestions around changing that and making it more tailorable is already been made. So hopefully we'll see maybe we'll see some changes, some updates, but right now that natural cycle, once you start it, you start it. And if you reset it, it resets. You can't really do much in there. Okay. Well, thank you guys. Jake, anything you want to close with?
No, I mean, just join us on What's Up Wednesday tomorrow. There was, a question earlier here about if you need the password or not. No, just go ahead and click the link that we're posting in those groups, and we'll see you at 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific tomorrow. So
10 a.m. Pacific tomorrow. Yeah. And I want to, we talked a lot about information and non-physical, and I want to just close with a quick quote from Nikola Tesla, because this is important. We're in a time in which we're learning new stuff, and we're shifting the history. And Nikola Tesla said over 100 years ago, he says that the day that science begins to study the non-physical phenomenon, it will make more progress in one decade than it made in all the previous centuries in existence. So think about that. We're now working with the non-physical. We're now working with energy and information technology. We're going to make a lot of progress. We already have. And as you see, updates and changes are happening all the time. So stay tuned. Keep using your Healy, and let's just keep growing. Thanks everybody for being here. Have a great night. Bye, y'all.
thanks, everyone.